Tonya Hofmann's fabulous. Tonya Hofmann's fabulous. Tonya Hofmann's fabulous, fabulous TV show. Tonya.
Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited that you're back today. Oh, my gosh, we're going to have so much fun. Miss Sandi Mitchell's in this house. Hey, Sandi.
Hey, how are you, Tonya?
Fantastic. You're going to hear so much amazing information from her, so you will want to stick around the whole time, and we're going to have so much fun. I wanted to kind of go over a little bit because, I always give you a tip. And one of the biggest things that helped me in life, business, changing, growing, personal developing myself is hanging around what I call true leaders. People with a servant's heart that are like, I want to help you. I want to do things with you. Let's play in the same sandbox. Because I know you've all met somebody who had a gated community sandbox. They're like, oh, well, you can hang around me, but you can't come in, right? And I don't want to hang with those people. So it is about really getting people together and figuring out how can we help each other. And those are usually the people that are the true leaders out in the community. And those are the people that are stepping up and they're like, I am not just going to sit behind and wait for people to tell me what to do. I'm going to be really proactive and go out and do things. And that's why I wanted to bring Sandi in today. Oh my gosh. As soon as I met her, I just like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. And I wanted to give you a little piece of her today. So Sandi, tell us a little bit about you and what you've been up to and a little bit about you.
Great. I have a company called Apex Leadership Coaching, and I do a lot of coaching, speaking, and training around emotional intelligence and leadership. I work a lot with people who are in those left brain areas, the technology, engineering, law, finance, and they have been trained to be experts in what they do, but not how to be leaders. And so what I do when they come to me, it's really helping them get that leadership presence, that confidence, that ability to go in to a situation and problem solve their way out of it rather than dig up antagonistic areas so that people get defensive rather than really pulling together. It's so much fun. I absolutely love it, Tonya.
Oh my gosh. And I mean, have you always been this fabulous? Because it just seems like you just like was born this way.
Oh, I am. No, no. We teach best what we need to learn most, right? That's because I really needed to learn how to handle my emotions. That's why I became this neuroscience geek and really learned what emotional intelligence is. And when I started getting it down and practicing it, my leadership just went exponentially higher, and the people around me, my team and my managers, my leaders, we all became stronger, and it has absolutely worked in my life, and I know it can work with my clients and with you.
So how does someone, because you're kind of coming from the corporate look, how does that work for entrepreneurs also?
Oh yeah, I have a big heart for entrepreneurs. In fact, I do a lot of teaching for the Goldman Sachs 10,000 small businesses, and half of my clientele are corporate, the other half for business owners. And I think it's vital for business owners who are trying to build their small business so that it is more than them. Right? If we talk about exit strategies, what's your exit strategy when you go into a small business? And most people have their exit strategy is that they want to give the business to their kids. First, ask your kids, do they want it? But if you're trying to build your business so that you can sell it, you can give it to someone, to your children or to your employees, you've got to be able to build it in a way that it is sustainable with or without you. Right? And so being able to do that means you've got to build relationships, you've got to build the sustainability of the program and the services and the products that you offer. And a lot of that has to do with how are you reacting, responding, giving your intelligence, your emotional intelligence to others. Are you able to take what they have to say and turn it around in a way that it entices them to want to partner with you? whether that's I'm going to buy something from you, or I'm going to become your vendor, or I'm going to become your client. It's all about how do you handle your emotions in a way that they balance out with your logic, right? So that it's a full picture.
I know when I first started and I, had my first networking group, and I was upset anytime anybody was like, well, I don't think this is really working. This is just, waste of time. And I take it all personally, and finally I got over all of those issues, and it's been so much better because now I understand people are coming from different places. Is that kind of what you mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. The whole definition of emotional intelligence, right, is being able to understand your own emotions and the emotions of others, and then being able to respond appropriately. So being able to set, the way I call it is the pause, right? It's that pause between what happens, somebody saying, "Oh, this isn't what I want," and your reaction. That pause, that moment in the middle, that's where emotional intelligence happens. That's where you're able to determine that I'm going to respond versus react. And if I respond in a way that says, I am confident, I am assertive, I believe that you have as many rights as I do to say, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And then we can either negotiate our way into both wanting it, or thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Goodbye.
I know when I created the rule in 2007 that everyone had to be nice, right? And people really had, some people had some problems with that. And I realized that when I talk to people about their niceness, because a lot of times it's just negativity, grumpiness, things that you're like, ugh. But to them, a lot of them didn't realize that that's the way they were. They couldn't see themselves
Yes.
that way. And so just by letting them know that this is how they're appearing when they come to the group that I was running at the time, that they were like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And they were able to correct it or go away.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we attract what we put out, right? And if we put out negativity, where even if you say just a few little things here and there, it feels like it gives people permission to to talk negatively about others. Emotions are contagious, either negative or positive. People mirror each other all the time. So if you got somebody that's coming in and they're gossiping, then other people will feel like, well, okay, well then, it's easy to do that, to gossip with you. But if you have somebody else that comes in and they're just bouncing all over the place and they're positive, then people are attracted to like people. And the people who are negative, they tend to fall away from people who are positive,
It was
which
interesting.
is a lovely thing.
Right. I had at this time in 2007, what brought even the rule that you have to be nice even brought about is I had a guy who had an agenda. I don't know if you know what
Mhm.
that's like.
I do.
There's
I
people
do.
who are like, get their agendas in hand. Well, what happened is he didn't like one of the ladies that was in the group and he wanted her to be kicked out. So he
Oh,
started an well, let's call
yes.
her Betty group, right?
Sure.
And it was incredible how people started rallying around him because
Hmm.
of the way he approached this negative force, right? You
Yep.
can't like Betty. She doesn't do this. She doesn't have the same type of business we have. She's not proper in her business, even though it's legit and everything, you know. And finally, when I called him out, he went away, thank you very much, and Betty stayed. And all those people that started being in his camp, they were like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that I was being that negative towards
Hmm.
Betty. It was
Yes.
really huge.
Yeah. It's stunning how people can, um, if you don't have that pause button, right? If you don't allow yourself to stop, it's so easily for us to get swayed by the emotions that are around us. Because uh, most of us are on autopilot, right? And just whatever's going on around us, we tend to just go along with, not from any malicious or laziness. It's just It's just easy, right?
Even in speaking and everything, that's one of the huge transformations for me, is focusing on the negative people that were in the room that were like, oh, I don't like what she's saying, I don't like her, whatever, instead of all the fabulous people that were like, oh my gosh, I totally get her, she's amazing, I love what she's saying. And when I stopped focusing on the negative and started focusing on the positive, not only did my attitude change and my leadership and how I showed up in the room change, but so did the environment in the room.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's a story of LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, and he won like by a landslide, like the biggest percentage of any other president. And he looked at his aide the night that he was elected by over 60%, and he said, "Why do you think those other 30-something% didn't like me?" And it's stunning, isn't it? When you have overwhelming positivity, there are some people that still look at the negative side of things. And being able, part of emotional intelligence is being able to look with confidence and have that self-respect for yourself, and being able to express it in a way that other people can recognize it and to feel part of it, right? So it's being able to have that constructive expression of emotion that's not offensive to other people, because you can, by your actions, by your words, you can totally shift a room as a speaker, as a trainer, as a participant.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've done it, right? You've had those people in your speeches that they're like the hecklers, like they think they're at a comedy club or something. Yeah, it's stunning what one person can do.
yeah, and I think part of being a leader is allowing that person not to overtake the environment, right? Is to control your arena. How do you suggest people do that? Is there, like a trick that you can do, or, a tip that you can give people?
Well, when I do training, one of the things that I typically do is initially I just ignore them, right? And and hope that they will cease. And there are times, however, that you have to do something about it, right? So if I'm training, then I'll just walk towards the person and put my hand on their shoulder if it gets to that point. If I'm speaking, what I typically do is, I certainly appreciate your perspective on this. Why don't we talk afterwards so that I can really give you my full attention? But during this speech, allow me to speak to the group.
Yes, and I know for me, what helped me a lot is my rules, right? So I start off my presentations by giving
Yes.
the rules. You have to be nice, and no one can be perfect. So if I mess up during my presentation, well, they can get upset with me because I told you I wasn't perfect. And then also, you have to be nice. So if anyone says anything that isn't nice, well, they're already breaking the rule, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, they're the bad one, right?
Right.
So
Right.
when you
Yeah.
look at leadership skills and the emotional intelligence that it takes to not only see your point of view, but other people's point of view, what's usually a challenge that people have with that? Is it about looking at people from their side, or sometimes even looking at it from both sides?
Yeah, I think just innately, we tend to look at things from our own perspective. And part of being a leader is being able to look at things from a variety of perspectives, right? From the person that you're speaking directly to, from the situation as a whole, being able to be more objective and realize that it's not all about you. Sometimes it is, but more than often, it's not all about you. So being able to look at something from someone else's perspective, being able to listen in a way that says, I understand what you're saying. Now, I may or may not agree, but a lot of times just acknowledging what someone says and validating their ability to have, or their right to have that emotion, doesn't mean that I agree with it all the time. But if I acknowledge and validate, that is huge in someone's defenses going down and being able to speak what they really think. Then you can get into problem solving versus all these walls that people have to climb and break through.
Nice. I know, when I go to speak and I've got an audience, right? And you really have to kind of know your audience to kind of connect with them and be prepared on stage. If I'm standing in front of, the other day I was in front of 150 about 60-year-old men that were all financial advisors. So
Hmm.
my entire presentation, there was no peeps. Everyone was quiet. I mean, just sitting there listening. Most of guys, they don't even look like they're listening, right? They're
Right.
just looking down, kind of nodding every once in a while or something. So
Yes.
it seems like very little interaction at all. Even when I tried to get them to interact, there was very little. Versus when I went to a Haitian group out in Florida, and it was all women. It was, about 100 lovely women that were all Haitians. And every time I would say something, they would jump up and hallelujah. They were so excited, And I was like, there, you get this whole different variety.
Yes. Yes.
And it's not that one group isn't enjoying what you're saying more than another. It's just the
Right.
different reactions of people, right?
Right. Yeah, and that's part of leadership, right? Is being able to have the same content, but speak it in a way that attracts the different audience that you're at. So using their language. I do a lot with like the disc profile or people styles, any of those styles, and being able to recognize that if I'm saying something for me, about 3/4 of the audience won't get it. Because there's only about a fourth that have the same personality style that I do, right? So how do you say it in a way, like if you're jumping all over the stage, that's probably not as effective for 150, 60-year-old white males, right?
Exactly.
So being able to say your same content, but shift it so that it's in their language, whatever that language is.
And I think that's the hardest thing for people, is, because it's really sales and marketing. It's not about you, it's about them.
Yes.
And if they're
Yes.
not understanding what you're saying, then you're not
Look
getting.
inward.
And I have to stop and think, okay, if it's financial advisors, I need to do it more in step 1, step 2, step 3,
Hmm.
versus if I go to, say the Haitian ladies, it's more about, okay, what do we can do? And it's more organic feeling,
Yes. Relationship. Hmm.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So when you look at developing out, kind of your own emotional intelligence and looking at other people's too, how do you sometimes branch that, divide? Is there a great way to start the conversation to kind of get to start to know what that is, or am I just kind of shooting out in the dark?
No, also teach emotionally intelligent negotiations. And I think one of the things from both a leadership perspective and a negotiation perspective, the first thing you really want to do is find out, why are they here? What's their interest? And many times, both from a communication perspective and from a negotiation perspective, they tell you the surface things that they want, not like what they call the question behind the question, right? What's the underlying interest? What is it that why did they come to the speech? What was interesting about it? What was the topic that brought them to it, or to the negotiation? What did they really want? So that then you can use your emotional intelligence to just keep asking questions. The best salespeople are the ones that, I really want to know what you need so that I can help you, whether helping you is giving you my product or telling you, look, my product isn't the one that's going to solve your problem. Let's move to someone else that I can recommend for you. So that is going to be able to draw people back to you when they need your services.
I love that. So when you're looking at the whole kind of, because this is a big picture, right?
It is.
And so people are going, oh my gosh, I have to not only know what I'm doing, but now I got to figure out what everyone else is doing and what's interesting.
Yes.
But that's just part of it. Marketing is a huge part of that, right? Education, developing, training,
Mm-hmm.
everything is in that environment. So you have to connect with the person that you're talking to. That's what it's
Yep.
what it's all about. If you're missing
Exactly.
emotional intelligence, I think
Mm-hmm.
you're missing out on a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Because here's the cool thing. I'm sure you do this too, Tonya. Before I give a speech, I have a 2-page list of questions that I ask the person who's hosting it. right? Of what kind of, give me the demographics of the people who are going to be here. Tell me, what do they already know? Why are they interested in this subject? What is it that's interesting to them? Tell me some about some of the key people in the audience, because I like to say people's names, connect them. We have, I can't remember where I read it, HBR or Harvard Business Review or something, that in today's world, every 90 seconds, the adult brain fades away. 90 seconds. That's not a lot of time. But when you say somebody's name or you tell a story, they come back. So even if you say somebody else's name, they come back. So being able to know ahead of time, before you go into a negotiation, before you go into a speech, it's what can you find out ahead of time? And then during the conversation, what can you find out? I do a lot of speeches that are interactive. It's
Exactly.
building the relationship. Yeah, yeah.
Well, and it's interesting too, you know, because sometimes we create what we think in our mind is like this perfect interaction or the perfect presentation or whatever it is. And then it's different when you go out and actually do it live, right? With
Yes.
real human.
Yes.
And it's also about adjusting it, you know, because sometimes it seems like, you know, it wouldn't be the right crowd for something, but you don't really know until sometimes you dive in, you know, and
Right.
really start developing that. Because sometimes people on the surface look like they're one type of person, but realistically, they're really a different type of person, because a lot of times people hide who they really are,
Yes.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Especially if you go into a work situation, right? They come with their work faces on, but all of us are human. And so talking about emotional intelligence or I do a lot around positive psychology, all those kinds of things, you would think from a corporate perspective or a small business owner, really, how impactful would that be? But we're all humans, and you can only be successful in business if you are successful building relationships. And that comes from asking questions and getting to know people.
And don't you think too, a lot of it is about kind of being proactive yourself, you know, because I find that sometimes a lot of times people wait for something to happen in order
Yes.
to take, you know, to jump on it, you know. So I'm like, oh, let's do it before, you know, but sometimes you don't know until, you know, everything's kind of into motion already.
Right. Right. Yeah, and that's why asking all those questions are important. And the more you can be the one to ask the questions, the more you can find out about them, and then share those pieces of you and your experience that bolsters the direction that the conversation or the speech or the negotiation is going in.
I love it. Now, I know you have something amazing to give away our guest today. What are you giving away?
Yes, as you can tell, emotional intelligence is a big thing for me. And so I have this, it's called EQ Leadership Competency. It's the Emotional Intelligence Leadership Competency. It lists all 15 of the emotional intelligence skills and gives you the opportunity to determine which ones are you a rock star at already? Which ones do you want to leverage? Which ones are you good at? And which ones do you want to develop? So it's a great tool to be able to see where might some gaps be and where do I need to really focus because I'm already a rock star at it. So email me at info@apexleadershipcoaching.com or go to the website apex leadershipcoaching.com and sign up for the EQ Leadership Competency.
Love it. So make sure you jump on that. Email her anyways, because you'll want to have her at your next conference. You definitely want to have her as a speaker, you know, for whatever you're doing. Have her come in and do trainings if you have a corporation, or even like you have a group of people that you're just needing to help. You know, if you're part of a network marketing company or a small business where you've got a lot of people that are like, I need help. Get her to come in and or you know, you could even Skype. I know a lot of you are like, well, I'm in Wisconsin. Well, it's okay. We've got Skype like this, you know, so that, you know, the opportunities are abounding. So thank you so much, Sandi, for coming on today.
Thank you, Tonya.
And everybody, please go check out the website. It's Public Speakers with an S Association, all spelled out, .com. We would love for you to be there. I am Tonya Hofmann. I am the CEO and founder of the Public Speakers Association because I want to help you go out and change the world from the front of the room, make a difference, connect to fabulous people like Miss Sandi, and have a fun time the entire time. So bye, everybody. Y'all have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye, Sandi.
Bye.